Ethan Cole's boots crunched against the pale, dusty surface of the alien moon. The sky above was dark with swirling clouds of violet gas, pierced only by the pale light of a distant sun. The probe had crashed here 3 days ago, and Ethan's job was to repair it. He adjusted the straps of his backpack and checked the scanner on his wrist. Everything seemed normal except for one thing. The scanner was picking up a faint energy reading nearby. It wasn't part of the probe or anything else he knew. Curiosity crept into him. He had been trained to follow orders, to fix things, not to wander off. But the reading was unusual, strong, and something about it pulled at him. He paused at the edge of a rocky ridge, looking down at the jagged cliffs below. The energy was coming from a cave system nestled among the rocks. He checked his suit's oxygen level and supplies. Everything was fine. Ethan took a deep breath and started down the slope, careful not to slip. Each step sent small stones rolling into the darkness below. The wind was cold and sharp. He could hear it whistling through the rocks, carrying with it a strange metallic scent. As he approached the cave, the energy reading increased. The scanner beeped softly and the numbers climbed higher. He crouched at the entrance and shone his light inside. The cave was wide but low. The walls lined with jagged crystals that glowed faintly in different colors. Blues, greens, and purples reflected off each other, creating a soft, eerie light. Ethan stepped inside slowly, his boots silent on the smooth floor. He had explored many alien worlds, but he had never seen anything like this. The cave seemed empty at first, but then he noticed a movement near the far wall. At first it looked like a shadow. Then it grew taller and more solid. Ethan froze. From the darkness, a figure stepped forward. She was tall, taller than any human, and her skin had a soft metallic shimmer. Her armor was strange, unlike anything Ethan had seen. It looked alive, as if it could shift and move on its own. Crystals were embedded in the armor, glowing faintly in rhythm with her heartbeat. Ethan's heart raced. He raised his hand slightly to show he meant no harm. The alien woman's eyes were sharp, bright, and full of caution. She held a long spear in her hand, the tip glowing with energy. Every movement she made was precise and deliberate, showing strength and skill beyond anything Ethan had trained for. "Touch me once, and I won't spare you, human," she said. Her voice was strong, deep, and carried through the cave like a storm. Ethan froze. The words left him speechless. He could only blink at her, unsure what to do. The air between them seemed to crackle with tension. He wanted to speak, to explain, but the sound caught in his throat. He could feel the danger, sharp and immediate. The alien took a step closer, her spear raised. Ethan noticed small symbols etched into her armor. They seemed to shift as he looked at them, like they were alive. The crystals in her armor glowed brighter as she moved, filling the cave with light. I didn't mean to," Ethan began, but the words failed him again. Suddenly, his hand brushed against a small control panel on his toolkit. A soft light flashed. The alien stiffened, her eyes narrowing. She moved with lightning speed, swinging her spear toward him. Ethan barely had time to activate the shield on his wrist. A pulse of energy shot out, striking the spear and stopping it inches from his chest. Sparks flew and he stumbled backward, tripping over a small rock. The alien's eyes widened. She had expected an attack, but not resistance that did not strike back. For a moment, the two of them stood frozen, measuring each other. Ethan's mind raced. He had no weapon, no way to fight her. And yet he had survived her first strike. He realized she was cautious as he was terrified. The ground shook suddenly. Ethan stumbled again. Dust fell from the ceiling. He looked up to see cracks forming along the cave's walls. The crystals began to vibrate, sending out a low hum that rattled his bones. The alien's eyes widened, and for the first time she looked alarmed. She didn't take another strike at him. Instead, she stepped back, trying to steady herself as a chunk of rock fell from above. Ethan saw the danger and acted without thinking. He lunged forward, grabbing her arm and pulling her out of the way just as the rock crashed to the ground. He fell backward, landing hard, but the alien was safe. She looked at him, her eyes wide with shock. "You saved me," she said softly, almost in disbelief. I didn't want to." Ethan tried again, but words were useless. His heart pounded in his chest. The alien studied him carefully, her gaze piercing, but the edge of anger softened slightly. Ethan noticed that her spear had powered down automatically. The crystals in her armor dimmed as if she had relaxed. "Humans," she muttered. There was confusion in her voice mixed with something else, curiosity. Ethan struggled to stand, brushing dust from his suit. He could feel the weight of the moment. Everything in him wanted to run to get away from this powerful being. But something else held him there. He didn't want to flee. He wanted to understand her, to know why she was here and what she was doing on this moon. The alien took a deep breath, lowering her spear slightly. She didn't step closer, but she didn't retreat either. "I am Lyrian," she said. "You are human. Why are you here?" "I'm Ethan," he said finally, his voice steady despite the fear. "I'm an engineer, my team. We are repairing a probe that crashed here." Lyrian's eyes narrowed. She studied him, searching for lies or deception. Her people had been betrayed by humans before. She had no reason to trust him. "You are not a soldier?" she asked. "No," Ethan said. "I am not here to fight. I only want to fix the probe." For a moment, silence filled the cave. The hum of the crystals was the only sound. Ethan could feel his own heartbeat thumping in his ears. Lyrian tilted her head, observing him. She noticed the scratches and dust on his suit, the tools on his belt, the way he carried himself. There was no armor beneath the suit, no hidden weapons. He was telling the truth, perhaps. "You are different," she said slowly. Her voice was softer now, though still cautious. "Perhaps you are not like the humans I remember." Ethan nodded, stepping a little closer but keeping his hands visible. "I am not like them," he said. "I don't know your people, your history. I only want to understand, not destroy." Lyran's eyes softened, but only slightly. She had been trained to trust no one. Her people had been nearly destroyed in a war that humans had started long ago. She had survived alone, learning to fight, to hide, to protect herself. Trust did not come easily. Ethan noticed a flicker of movement in the shadows behind her. Something alive, watching them. He held his breath, but Lyrian didn't react. She seemed to sense it and ignored it, her attention still on him. "Follow me," she said finally. She turned, leading him deeper into the cave. The energy readings on his scanner grew stronger. He did not know what he would find, but he followed. Every step was careful. He had no idea what lay ahead, only that it would change everything he thought he knew about the universe. The cave walls opened into a wider chamber. Crystals hung from the ceiling like giant stalactites. Pools of glowing liquid reflected the alien woman's image. Ethan stared in awe. "You are amazed," Lyran said, her voice softer now. "This place, it is sacred. Few humans have seen it." "I've never seen anything like this," Ethan admitted. "It's beautiful." Lyran studied him again. Her eyes, sharp and bright, softened even more. "Beauty is dangerous," she said quietly. "It can hide threats. It can deceive." "I'll be careful," Ethan said. "I promise." For a moment, the two stood there, facing each other in silence. Neither moved. The hum of the crystals filled the air, and Ethan felt a strange sense of peace despite the danger. Lyrian finally lowered her head slightly. "Perhaps," she said softly, "you are not like the humans I remember. Perhaps you will survive here." Ethan swallowed hard. He didn't know if she trusted him yet. He didn't know what the future held. But one thing was certain. This encounter, this strange and powerful being, would change his life forever. And deep inside, Ethan realized that this was only the beginning. Ethan followed Lyran deeper into the cave. The glowing crystals reflected strange patterns on the walls, casting long, moving shadows. Every step they took echoed softly, and Ethan tried to stay quiet, careful not to startle her. He still could not believe he had met a living Valari, a warrior from a species long thought extinct. Lyran moved gracefully, her eyes scanning the cave constantly. She carried her spear lightly, but it was clear from the way she held it that she could strike with deadly speed. Ethan kept his hands in front of him open, showing he was not a threat. He could feel his heart beating fast in his chest. After a few minutes, they entered a larger chamber. The air here was warmer and the crystals glowed brighter. Ethan noticed markings on the walls. They were old, carved long ago. Strange symbols and patterns ran across the stone like a story. He wanted to examine them, but he stayed silent, letting Lyran lead. "You are brave to follow me," she said, her voice low and steady. "Most humans would have run by now. I wanted to understand," Ethan said. "I didn't want to leave without knowing why you are here and who you are." Lyran's eyes softened slightly. "Curiosity can be dangerous," she said, "but it can also save lives. You are different from the humans I remember." Ethan wanted to ask about her people, about the Valari, but he knew better than to rush. She would not speak about them easily. Instead, he nodded and followed her further into the chamber. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling and small stones tumbled across the floor. Ethan stumbled but caught himself. Lyran reacted instantly. Her body moved faster than he could follow. She spun, placing herself in front of him, spear raised, ready for anything. "What is happening?" Ethan shouted, his voice echoing. "The crystals are unstable," Lyran said, her eyes scanning the chamber. "They hold energy from the core of this moon. If we are not careful, this cave could collapse." The hum of the crystals grew louder. Ethan could feel the vibration in his chest. He looked around and saw cracks forming in the walls, thin at first but spreading quickly. Sparks of light shot out from the crystals, striking the floor and walls. Ethan realized they were in danger. Before he could react, a chunk of crystal fell from the ceiling. Ethan dove forward, but Lyran moved faster. She grabbed him and pulled him aside just in time. The crystal struck the ground where he had been standing. "Be careful," she shouted. "This place is not safe for untrained humans." "I'm fine," Ethan said, though his chest heaved with fear. He looked at her, really looked at her, and saw something he had not noticed before. Beneath the armor, her eyes showed concern, not just for herself, but for him. Lyran studied him for a moment, then shook her head. "You are reckless," she said, but there was no anger in her voice. "If you die here, your kind will never know the truth about this place." Ethan swallowed hard. "I want to live," he said. "I want to know everything." She lowered her spear slightly. "Then follow me and do exactly as I say." The ground shook again, stronger this time. Ethan had to hold onto the wall to keep from falling. Lyran moved ahead with purpose, leading him to a narrow passage. The passage was dark, but the crystals along the walls provided enough light to see. Ethan noticed strange markings etched into the floor, footprints that did not match his own. "Those are Valari markings," Lyran said. "Ancient paths we used when exploring this moon long ago. Few humans have ever walked them. Your people, you fought here?" Ethan asked quietly. Lyran did not answer immediately. She only looked ahead, her eyes sharp. "We protected this place," she said finally. "Long ago it was a sanctuary. Now it is a trap for the careless." As they moved, Ethan noticed a low rumbling sound. The crystals on the walls flickered and pulsed. He touched one lightly. It was warm, almost alive. The hum grew louder, almost like a heartbeat. Ethan realized the cave was reacting to their presence. "Stay close," Lyran warned. "The crystals sense movement. They can defend themselves if they feel threatened." Ethan nodded and stayed close behind her. Every step felt tense. He could feel the air shifting, the energy in the cave growing stronger. The rumbling became a roar. Small rocks fell from the ceiling, forcing them to duck. Suddenly, a bright flash lit the chamber. Ethan shielded his eyes. When he looked again, he saw that the crystals had formed barriers, creating walls of glowing light that blocked their path. Lyran stepped forward, touching one with her hand. The barrier flickered, then disappeared. "You have power here," Ethan said, amazed. Lyran shook her head. "I am not the power. This moon remembers those who belong to it." She looked at him seriously. "You are not from here. You must be careful." They continued through the passages, each step bringing them deeper into the moon. Ethan realized he was learning more than he expected. Not just about Lyran, but about the energy of this place, the history of a species he had only heard about in old records. After some time, they reached a large chamber. The ceiling was high, and the crystals here were massive. Pools of glowing liquid reflected the light. Ethan could see shapes moving beneath the surface. Strange alien shapes, graceful and fluid. "What are those?" he whispered. Lyran glanced at him. "Creatures of the moon," she said. "They are harmless unless provoked. They have lived here for centuries." Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine. Everything in this place was alive in ways he had never imagined. The crystals, the pools, even Lyran herself. Everything seemed connected. He stepped closer to the edge of a pool, careful not to fall in. The water glowed with a soft green light. Tiny currents moved across the surface as if something below was stirring. Ethan felt a strange pull and urge to reach in, but he stopped himself. Lyran noticed. "Do not touch," she said firmly. "The energy is ancient. It can heal, but it can also destroy. You do not understand it yet," Ethan nodded. He realized how dangerous curiosity could be here. One wrong move and he could trigger something he could not control. They moved on, deeper into the chamber. Ethan noticed an archway carved from crystal. It led to a smaller room. Inside, the crystals pulsed brighter than ever. In the center, a large crystal stood upright, almost like a throne. The energy from it radiated outward, filling the room with warmth and light. Lirayan stopped and placed her hand on the crystal. It hummed under her touch. She closed her eyes and whispered something. Ethan could not understand her words, but the sound was soft and melodic. The crystal's glow changed, forming patterns in the air like a map. "This crystal holds knowledge," Lyran said finally. "It remembers my people, the Valari. It remembers the battles, the victories, the losses. It is our history preserved here." Ethan stepped closer. "Can it show me?" Lyran shook her head. "Not yet. You are human. You cannot handle all that history at once. It could overwhelm your mind. You must first learn trust, patience, and understanding." Ethan nodded, though he felt a mixture of disappointment and curiosity. He wanted to know everything now. He had spent years studying space, alien worlds, and lost civilizations. This was the chance of a lifetime. The ground shook again, stronger than before. Ethan stumbled. Rocks fell from the ceiling. Lyran grabbed his arm, steadying him. She looked around, eyes sharp and alert. "They are coming," she said. Ethan looked at her, confused. "Who?" "The humans," she said, her voice tense. "Or perhaps others. They will want this place. They always want what they do not understand. We must move." Ethan's heart sank. He had not expected danger from his own kind. He had thought the humans on his team were explorers, scientists, curious and cautious. But Lyran's warning made him realize how little he truly knew. "Where do we go?" he asked. Lyran glanced back at him. "Follow me, and do not stray. One mistake and we are lost." As they moved toward the exit of the chamber, Ethan could see the crystals along the walls flickering. The hum of energy grew louder, almost like a warning. Every step was tense, every sound amplified. He felt a mixture of fear and excitement. This was no longer a simple mission to repair a probe. He was part of something much bigger, something ancient and powerful, and he was walking alongside a warrior from a lost civilization. Ethan realized that the moment he touched the crystals, he had stepped into a story far larger than himself. He did not know how it would end. He did not know if he would survive. But he knew one thing for certain. He would not forget Lirayan. The Valari warrior who had warned him, challenged him, and now guided him through a world beyond imagination. And for the first time, Ethan felt that the universe was alive in ways he could never have imagined, and he was only beginning to understand it. Ethan and Lirayan moved carefully through the tunnels of the cave system. The glow from the crystals bathed everything in soft colors, casting strange shadows on the walls. Ethan's heart was still racing from the shaking and falling rocks earlier, but he felt a strange sense of wonder. He had never seen a place so alive, so full of energy, and so full of history. Lirayan walked ahead with confidence. Her spear rested lightly against her shoulder, her eyes constantly scanning for danger. Ethan followed, staying close, trying not to make mistakes. He wanted to understand her people and this moon, but he also knew that one wrong step could mean disaster. After a while, they reached a wider chamber. The ceiling arched high above them, and the walls were covered in glowing markings. Ethan leaned forward to examine them. The symbols were like nothing he had seen before, geometric shapes, flowing lines, and some that almost looked like writing. "What are these?" he asked softly. Lirayan stepped beside him. "They are our history," she said. "The Valari recorded our victories, our losses, and our knowledge here. Long ago, we thought it would be safe from those who would misuse it." Ethan studied the markings. "Your people. You were a civilization much older than humans." Lirayan nodded. "Much older. We explored galaxies, studied energy, and built great machines. But we also fought wars, humans. Your kind played a part in our downfall." Ethan swallowed hard. He had read about the wars between humans and the Valari in old archives, but most of it was fragmented or erased. The truth had been buried. He felt a pang of guilt. His ancestors had done terrible things, but he knew he was not responsible. Yet somehow it felt heavy to be near her, to see the cost of history firsthand. I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I had no part in that. I don't even know all the stories." Lirayan looked at him, her expression unreadable. Then slowly she nodded. "You are not your kind. That is clear. But you must understand something, human. My people trusted the wrong allies. We were betrayed. Our civilization almost ended because we believed in peace too easily." Ethan felt the weight of her words. He realized she had survived alone. carrying the memories and the pain of her people. He wanted to say something to comfort her, but he did not know what to say. Instead, he followed her as they moved deeper into the chamber. The floor beneath them changed. Smooth stone gave way to rougher terrain, and Ethan had to step carefully. He noticed glowing pools of liquid along the path. The light shimmered on the walls and reflected in Liren's eyes. "Do not touch," she warned. "The liquid holds energy. It can heal, but it can also harm. It chooses who it touches." Ethan nodded. He remembered how careful she had been earlier with the crystals. This moon was alive, and it responded to the presence of others. He felt both awe and fear at the thought. They walked in silence for a while. Ethan tried to imagine what it had been like when her people ruled the galaxy. He tried to picture battles between the Valari and humans, the war that had almost destroyed everything. Lyrian's quiet strength made him realize how much she had endured. Suddenly, the tunnel opened into a chamber filled with massive crystals. The energy here was stronger than anywhere else. Ethan felt it in his chest, a pulsing warmth that made his head feel light. The crystals vibrated, creating patterns of light that danced on the walls. Lyrian approached the largest crystal in the center. She placed her hand on it and the glow intensified. Ethan watched in amazement. The crystal seemed to respond to her touch, humming softly like it was alive. "This crystal holds memory," Lyran said. "It remembers the Valari. It remembers the battles, the victories, and the losses. It is the heart of our history." Ethan stepped closer. "Can it show me?" Lyran shook her head. "Not yet. You are human. The crystal holds too much for your mind to bear. You must first understand my people and yourself, before it can reveal its secrets." Ethan nodded. He could feel the energy, feel the importance of what he was seeing. The Valari were not just warriors. They were a civilization of knowledge, power, and responsibility. He felt honored to be here, yet he also felt fear. Lyran turned to him, her eyes serious. "Humans are curious," she said, "but you must be careful. The knowledge here is not meant for those who seek power. It is meant to preserve life, not destroy it." "I understand," Ethan said. "I only want to learn, not take." She studied him for a long moment. Then, for the first time, she lowered her spear completely. "Perhaps you are different," she said softly. "Perhaps there is hope for your kind after all." Ethan felt a mixture of relief and nervousness. He did not know if he could trust her completely, but he sensed a small opening, a chance to prove himself. As they continued through the chamber, a shadow moved across the far wall. Ethan froze. Lyran noticed immediately and raised her spear again. The shadow shifted, revealing itself as a group of small alien creatures. They were similar to the ones he had seen in the pools earlier, graceful and fluid. "They are harmless," Lyran said, "unless provoked. They guard this place, but they do not attack without reason." Ethan stepped carefully, making sure not to startle them. The creatures watched him for a moment, then returned to their movements. He realized that every part of this moon was alive and connected. Even the smallest creature had a role to play in the balance of this world. Lyrian led him to another chamber. Here the walls were lined with crystal panels that seemed to display moving images. Ethan recognized them as battles, cities, and ships of the Valari. The images were faint, but he could make out details: warriors in armor, ships flying through space, and humans engaged in conflict. "This is my people's history," Lyran said. "These panels show what we fought for, what we lost, and what we tried to preserve." Ethan stepped closer, studying the images. He felt a pang of sorrow. He had read about history in books, but this was different. This was real. This was proof of the pain, the bravery, and the mistakes of a civilization that had been erased from most human records. "Why are you showing me this?" Ethan asked. "Because you need to understand," Lyran said. "If you are to survive here, if you are to learn from my people, you must know the truth. Humans do not always honor history. You must choose to be better." Ethan nodded. He felt the weight of her words. He realized that he had a choice: to follow the path of his ancestors or to learn from the Valari and be different. As he absorbed the images, a low rumble shook the chamber. Ethan stumbled, gripping the edge of a crystal panel. Lyran raised her spear, her eyes scanning the shadows. "They are coming," she said. Ethan looked at her, confused. "Who?" "The human," she said. Her voice was tense. "Or others who seek power. They will want this place, and they will not understand. We must move." Ethan's heart sank. He had thought his team was only here to explore, to repair the probe. He had not expected danger from his own kind. He realized how little he truly knew about the world outside this cave, about the human desire for power. "Where do we go?" he asked. Lyrian glanced at him. "Follow me, and stay close. One mistake and we are lost." They moved quickly through the tunnels, the hum of the crystals growing louder. The energy seemed to respond to their movement, pulsing faster as if aware of the approaching threat. Ethan felt both fear and awe. As they ran, he noticed that Lyrian seemed to know the cave perfectly. She avoided pitfalls, dodged falling rocks, and moved with speed and precision. He struggled to keep up, but he felt a strange confidence knowing she was leading him. After some time, they reached a narrow passage that led to a hidden chamber. The entrance was covered by a natural rock formation, almost invisible to anyone who did not know it was there. Lyran pushed aside the rocks and they stepped inside. The chamber was small but safe. The crystals here glowed softly, providing enough light to see. Ethan collapsed onto the ground, exhausted. "You are stronger than you look," Lyran said, watching him. "Most humans would have collapsed long before now. I'm fine," Ethan said, though his chest heaved. "Just trying to keep up." Lyran studied him for a moment, then nodded. "You have survived this long. That is good. But the real test is yet to come. You must learn to trust, to understand, and to act when it matters. Only then can you survive the rest of what lies ahead." Ethan looked at her, determination growing in his chest. He realized that this was no longer just a mission to repair a probe. It was a journey into history, into danger, and into a world that few humans had ever seen. And for the first time, he understood that survival would not only depend on skill or strength. It would depend on trust, courage, and the choices he would make alongside Lyran, the warrior of a lost civilization. Ethan and Lyran stayed in the hidden chamber for a long time. Ethan's body was tired, but his mind was restless. He could feel the energy of the crystals around him, humming softly, almost like they were alive. He watched Lyran as she moved quietly, her hand brushing against the walls, sensing the vibrations and the power that ran through the cave. "You have to understand," Lyran said softly, breaking the silence. "My people left knowledge here that could save worlds or destroy them. Not all humans are ready to handle it. Some would take it for power, and that would bring ruin." Ethan nodded. He understood now why she had been so cautious. He realized that his curiosity could be dangerous and that knowledge carried responsibility. "I won't misuse it," he said. "I only want to help, to learn." Lyran's eyes studied him closely. "You are human," she said, "and yet you show patience, restraint, and respect. Perhaps you are one of the few who can survive this place without causing harm." They moved together to the center of the chamber. The large crystal in the middle glowed brighter now, as if it recognized Ethan's presence. Lyran reached out and touched it lightly. The light shifted and began to form patterns in the air, images, symbols, and scenes of her people long ago. "These are the memories of the Valari," Lyran explained. "They tell of our history, our victories, our mistakes. And they warn of the weapon we buried beneath this moon, the Echo Core. It was created to protect, but it can destroy entire star systems if misused." Ethan stared at the glowing patterns, feeling the weight of the revelation. "A weapon?" he whispered. How could anyone survive using it?" Lyran's eyes darkened. "It cannot be used without great understanding. My people hid it to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. But some humans will not wait to learn. They will come here and take it for themselves. That is why I am here." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. He had assumed his team was just exploring. Now he understood that greed and ambition could follow them even here. "We have to stop them," he said. Lyran nodded. "We must protect it at all costs. And you must help me. Only together can we ensure it remains safe." They spent hours studying the chamber, learning the paths, the hidden traps, and the energy flows. Ethan realized that the crystals were not just decorations, they were sensors, guardians of the moon's secrets. If someone tried to reach the Echo Core without permission, the energy would react and it could be deadly. "I can help you navigate," Ethan said. "I know technology. I can figure out how to avoid triggers or disable them if needed." Lyran considered him carefully. "You may be useful, but trust is earned, not given. One mistake could cost both of us our lives." "I understand," Ethan said firmly. He felt a bond forming between them, built on necessity, respect, and the knowledge that failure was not an option. Days passed. Ethan and Lyran moved through the cave system, mapping safe paths and avoiding dangerous areas. During this time, Lyran taught him about her people. She showed him how to read the crystal patterns, how to sense the energy, and how to respect it. Ethan absorbed everything, amazed at the depth and wisdom of a species so different from his own. One evening, while resting near a glowing pool, Ethan noticed movement outside the chamber. He signaled to Lyran, who immediately raised her spear. Shadows moved along the walls, human shapes. "They are here," she whispered. "Your kind has arrived." Ethan's heart pounded. "Soldiers?" he asked. "Explorers, or worse. They seek the Echo Core. They will not hesitate to take it." Lyran's eyes narrowed. "We must move now." They left the chamber quietly, using hidden paths and tunnels that only Lyran knew. Ethan noticed the humans were using scanners and equipment to detect energy. They were careful, methodical, but not as skilled in navigating the caves. "We must reach the inner sanctum," Lyran said. "The Echo Core is deeper. The humans cannot reach it without going through dangerous areas. We can use this to our advantage." Ethan followed, keeping low and silent. Every step was tense. The hum of the crystals grew louder as they approached the sanctum. Ethan could feel the energy in his chest, a pulsing warmth that made him aware of every sound and movement. Finally, they reached the entrance to a massive chamber. The Echo Core stood at the center, a crystalline structure larger than any Ethan had ever seen. Its light pulsed like a heartbeat, radiating energy in all directions. He felt a strange connection to it, as if it were alive. Lyran placed a hand on the core. The light shifted, forming images in the air. Scenes of the Valari creating the weapon, hiding it, and leaving warnings for anyone who would try to misuse it. "This is why I am here," Lyran said, "to protect it. To ensure no human or anyone else can take it without understanding its power." Ethan nodded. "I understand. We have to make sure no one gets it." Suddenly, a loud noise echoed through the tunnels. Ethan recognized it immediately. The sound of drilling and energy scanners. The humans had found a nearby entrance and were trying to reach the sanctum. "They are fast," Lyran said, her voice tense. "We cannot let them reach the core." Ethan looked at her. "What do we do?" "We use the paths I showed you," Lyran said. "We can lead them into traps, into areas where they cannot follow. The energy will protect us if we know how to move." Together, they moved quickly, navigating narrow tunnels and chambers. Ethan used his knowledge of human technology to predict their movements, while Lyran used her skill and speed to avoid detection. The humans followed, unaware of the dangers ahead. At one point, a section of the tunnel collapsed behind them. Rocks fell, blocking the path. Ethan looked back. "They're trapped," he whispered. Lyran shook her head. "Not yet. They may find another path. We must stay ahead," they continued, finally reaching a small chamber near the inner sanctum. Here, the energy was strongest. Ethan could feel it vibrating through his body, making his hair stand on end. Lyran placed her hand on the wall, sensing the vibrations, and adjusted her position. "They are close," she said. "We have to prepare." Ethan took a deep breath. He realized this was the moment of truth. They had to protect the Echo Core, not just for themselves, but for the safety of countless worlds. The humans entered the chamber next to them. Ethan could hear their voices, cautious and uncertain. They were looking for the core, but they did not know where to find it. Lyran motioned for Ethan to stay low. "We do not fight unless necessary," she whispered. "We protect and delay. Let them see the power, but do not strike unless we must." Ethan nodded, his hands trembling slightly. He could feel the weight of responsibility. One wrong move and the core could be activated, causing destruction. The humans moved closer, scanning the walls and floor. Ethan whispered to Lyran, "We need a distraction." Lyran's eyes gleamed. She tapped the crystals along the wall. The light shifted, creating illusions and reflections that confused the humans. Shadows moved, sounds echoed, and the humans became disoriented. "This way," she whispered, leading Ethan along a hidden path that bypassed the humans. They moved quickly, reaching a chamber closer to the core. The humans tried to follow, but the paths collapsed behind them, and energy barriers slowed their progress. Ethan watched in awe as Lyran used her knowledge of the cave and the energy to control the situation. Finally, they reached the inner sanctum. The Echo Core pulsed brightly, its light filling the chamber. Ethan could feel its power, and he realized how dangerous it could be in the wrong hands. Lyran turned to him. "Now we must ensure it cannot be taken. We will activate the protective sequence. It will hide the core and make it unreachable to anyone without the proper knowledge. Ethan nodded. Let's do it. Together they worked, using the knowledge Lyrian had shared and Ethan's understanding of technology. The core's light shifted, forming complex patterns. Energy barriers rose, tunnels collapsed, and the humans outside were blocked from entering. When the sequence was complete, the chamber grew calm. The core glowed softly, but its power was contained. Ethan felt a wave of relief. They had succeeded. Lyrian looked at him, her expression softening. You have proven yourself, human. You have patience, courage, and understanding. You are different from the others. Ethan smiled faintly, exhausted but proud. We did it together, he said. Lyrian nodded. Yes, together, but this is only the beginning. Others may come, and we must be ready. The Echo Core must remain safe, and the knowledge of my people must be protected. Ethan realized the truth of her words. They had won this battle, but the war to protect the core and preserve the Vellery knowledge was far from over, and for the first time, he felt a deep connection to Lyrian, not just as a warrior, but as a guardian, a teacher, and an ally. Together they would face whatever came next. Ethan and Lyrian stood in the inner sanctum, the soft glow of the Echo Core filling the chamber. The energy was calm now, contained by the protective sequence they had activated together. Ethan felt his chest rising and falling rapidly, exhaustion mixed with relief. He had never imagined that his mission to repair a probe would lead him to this, standing beside a Vellery warrior, guarding a weapon powerful enough to destroy entire star systems. Lyrian moved gracefully around the chamber, her eyes scanning the core, the walls, and the tunnels leading away. It is stable, she said quietly. For now. But the humans may try again. Others may come. We must remain vigilant. Ethan nodded, wiping sweat from his brow. We've done what we can. The core is safe. I'll help you protect it as long as it takes. Lyrian studied him closely. You are brave, human. Not just in action, but in spirit. You understand that power is dangerous, that knowledge is responsibility. That is rare among your kind. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest at her words. He realized that she did not just respect his skill or courage, she trusted him. And trust was something earned, something precious in a universe filled with betrayal and greed. Suddenly, a low vibration ran through the chamber. Ethan froze. Lyrian's eyes narrowed and she raised her spear. They are coming, she whispered. Ethan's stomach tightened. Again? Lyrian nodded. Yes. Others have detected the energy. They will arrive soon. We cannot allow them to reach the core. Ethan glanced around. The chamber was filled with glowing crystals and pools of energy. He realized that they could use the environment to their advantage. We can create barriers, he said. Use the crystals to slow them down. Lyrian's eyes lit up. Yes, follow me. Together they moved quickly, placing their hands on the walls and crystals. Ethan concentrated, feeling the flow of energy through him. Lyrian guided him, showing him how to direct it. Slowly, barriers of light rose from the floor and walls, creating narrow paths and blocking access points. Ethan could feel the strain. Directing energy like this required focus, patience, and control. But Lyrian's presence steadied him. She moved beside him, her spear ready, her eyes sharp. They were a team, working in perfect harmony. A loud crash echoed through the tunnels. The humans had arrived, breaking through one of the outer barriers. Ethan and Lyrian held their ground. They will not get past us, Lyrian said, her voice steady. Ethan nodded, gripping the edge of a crystal panel. He felt the energy coursing. Through his veins, a strange connection to the moon itself. The humans advanced, cautious but determined. They carried scanners, weapons, and tools, confident that they could reach the core. Lyrian raised her spear, and a pulse of energy shot from the tip, striking the floor. Sparks flew, and the humans stumbled, their scanners going haywire. Ethan focused on the crystals, directing energy to block the entrances further. The humans tried to advance, but every path they took was met with resistance. You are stronger than I expected, one of the humans shouted, frustration in his voice. Lyrian's eyes narrowed. You are not prepared for what lies ahead, she said. Leave now or face the consequences. The humans hesitated, but greed and ambition pushed them forward. They raised their weapons, aiming for the core. Ethan's heart pounded. One strike, one mistake, and the Echo Core could react, unleashing energy that neither of them could control. "Lyrin," he whispered. "We have to protect it. We can't let them touch it." Lyrian nodded. "I know. Focus. Trust yourself." Ethan took a deep breath and directed energy from the crystals to form a protective dome around the core. Light flashed, creating a shield that the humans could not penetrate. Sparks and small energy pulses struck their equipment, forcing them to retreat. Lyran moved with precision, her spear striking near the humans not to kill but to warn them away. Her movements were fast and controlled, every action calculated to protect without unnecessary violence. Ethan felt a surge of pride. Together they had created a barrier no human could break. The core was safe for now. The humans hesitated, frustrated and cautious. They realized that the moon itself was defending the core, guided by Lyran and her unexpected ally. Slowly, they backed away, retreating to the tunnels outside. Ethan exhaled, his muscles trembling with relief. "They're leaving," he said. Lyran lowered her spear, her expression softening. "For now. But others may come. Always. That is the burden of the Echo Core. It attracts those who do not understand its purpose." Ethan nodded, understanding the weight of her words. He realized that protecting the core was not just about strength or skill. It was about wisdom, patience, and the courage to do what was right even when others would do wrong. They moved closer to the core, their hands hovering above its surface. Ethan could feel the pulsing energy, alive and powerful. He realized that it was not just a weapon. It was a memory, a guardian, and a symbol of responsibility. "You have done well," Lyran said quietly. "You have learned to trust, to act with caution, and to understand the weight of knowledge. That is rare among humans." Ethan smiled faintly. "I could not have done it without you." Lyran's eyes softened. "Perhaps. But you have proven yourself capable. You are different. You are not like the humans who seek only power. You understand the value of life and the cost of mistakes." Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. He realized that trust had formed between them, a bond stronger than fear or caution. He looked at her, the warrior of a lost civilization, and felt respect, admiration, and something more, a connection that went beyond words. Suddenly, the core pulsed brighter. Ethan felt a wave of energy wash over him, not dangerous but powerful. Images formed in the air, showing the Volari, their ships, their battles, and the wisdom they had left behind. Ethan felt the responsibility pressing on him, the weight of protecting something far greater than himself. Lyran placed a hand on his shoulder. "This is our duty," she said softly. "To protect, to preserve, and to guide those who are ready to learn. We cannot fail." Ethan nodded, determination filling him. "We won't fail," he said firmly. "We'll protect it together." The hum of the crystals filled the chamber, a soothing and steady rhythm. Ethan realized that the moon, the core, and Lyran were all connected. They were alive, aware, and protective. And he was part of it now, a human who had earned a place among the Guardians. Time passed. The humans outside did not return, discouraged by the barriers and the overwhelming presence of energy. Ethan and Lyran remained vigilant, watching the tunnels and monitoring the core. One evening, as the soft glow of the crystals filled the chamber, Ethan looked at Lyran. "Will you stay?" he asked quietly. Lyran turned to him, her expression unreadable. "I cannot stay forever," she said. "My people are out there, scattered and in hiding. I must find them, teach them, and ensure they survive. But I will return when the time is right." Ethan nodded, understanding. He felt a mix of sadness and hope. "I'll be here," he said, "helping, learning, protecting. I'll be ready." Lyran studied him for a long moment. Then slowly, she placed her hand on the core. Light shimmered, reflecting in her eyes. "You have grown," she said softly. "You are different. You are ready for what lies ahead." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. He realized that he had changed too. He had faced fear, danger, and the unknown, and he had learned courage, patience, and trust. He had formed a bond with a warrior from a lost civilization, and together they had protected something far greater than themselves. The core pulsed gently, its energy filling the chamber. Ethan watched the patterns of light, understanding that this was not just a weapon or a memory. It was a guide, a teacher, and a reminder of responsibility. Lyrian stepped back, her eyes scanning the tunnels. "Rest now," she said quietly. "Tomorrow we will continue to protect the core and prepare for whatever may come. But tonight, we have earned a moment of peace." Ethan nodded, exhaustion and relief washing over him. He sat on the edge of the chamber, watching the soft glow of the crystals and the pulsing light of the echo core. For the first time, he felt a deep sense of connection, not just to Lyrian or to the Valari, but to the universe itself. They had faced danger, survived, and protected something greater than themselves. And in that moment, Ethan understood the meaning of courage, trust, and responsibility. Lyran stood beside him, silent but alert. Ethan looked at her, a faint smile on his face. "Thank you," he said softly. Lyran's expression softened. "No, human," she said quietly. "Thank you for understanding, for trust, and for courage. That is rarer than power, and far more valuable." They sat together in the glowing chamber, guardians of the Echo Core, connected by trust, respect, and the shared duty of protecting a legacy far greater than either of them. And as the crystals pulsed around them, Ethan realized that humanity had not failed entirely. There was hope, there was courage, and there was the chance to be different. Together they would protect the future, preserve the past, and face whatever challenges came next. The universe was vast, full of dangers and wonders, but for the first time Ethan felt ready, and beside him, Lyrian remained, silent, strong, and vigilant, the warrior of a lost civilization who had found a human worthy of trust. The Echo Core pulsed gently, a heartbeat in the quiet of the moon, a symbol of hope, responsibility,